we are not in control as of yet. I want to say that again. We are not in control as of yet. So therefore, there has to be a God or some form of a higher power to do the arithmetic, is what it really is. Because we have not learned how to work these algorithms and work these different codes on this planet. And this planet is a lot like a Ouija board, believe it or not. And we're now in a state to where we are playing with this planet, and it's causing a lot of unexpected things to happen from us playing around with this planet. And I just want to keep repeating that we are not in control, and I say that because there's a lot of arithmetic and a lot of things for us to learn. Even myself, when I put this information out, I don't put this information out to sound like I know a lot or anything like that. This literally was revealed to me, a lot of it in several different experiences that were similar to near death even. And I'm going to eventually go into that, but the time is not now. But I'm not going to really go into a lot of the negatives of this reality. I just want to focus on a lot of the positives. And heard from a really good fan today that is connected with some people that I know that are connected with this movie that came out called The Matrix, that you guys probably know about. Some of you may not know about it, I don't know. But this movie that came out called The Matrix is really, honestly, probably the top piece of work that inspired a lot of my information, my delivery style, a lot of what I do. In addition to some other things, I have some other backgrounds, of course, to even get to that point. But I'm saying as far as publicly and who I am, a lot of that comes from the Matrix work. So I take that work very seriously, even though it's an art to some. And I just want to really kind of discuss seconds for now. I got a lot to discuss, actually. It's going to take us into a lot of different realms. I may want to talk about a little bit of entertainment, things of that nature, but not now. I want to talk about seconds. And seconds are misunderstood. We count them predicated upon, well, if you look at a clock, you notice it's an interval of moment to moment, kind of similar to a pulse. However, the measuring stick for seconds, from my research, is connected to credit. It's connected to a clitoris, believe it or not. It's connected to time, but it's connected to, ultimately, it's connected to the female. And seconds fluctuates. See, seconds is how you move into the future and stuff like that. If you want to travel into the future and do all of that, what I call Merkaba mysticism type of stuff, you have to work with seconds. That's what you have to learn how to do, is work with them. It's a certain way you can do it. You can work with seconds in a way to where you can slow down time, believe it or not. But there's a difference. I'm pointing this out because, see, in our clocks, we just say, okay, well, it's 60 seconds in a minute, and, there's, so many minutes in an hour, 60 minutes in an hour, and, and everything is based on, look, 6 again. Why 6? Why is it based on 6 and not 9? And that's why I'm giving this information about these numbers, because eventually what we're going to do is I'm going to go back over a lot of the information that I've been talking about after we deal with numbers, and a different understanding of numbers is what I'm trying to give. And really, it's kind of like a divine intervention, really, is what it is when it comes to numbers. That's what I'm doing. And then once I do that, we're going to go back into understanding time and these measurements. But you notice everything is 666, but why? What's the basis of a second? Nobody really tells you. I mean, you look on a clock and you see seconds changing, you see milliseconds going, but what's the basis of that? See, these are all different increments of time. A second and a minute is literally two separate things is what I'm trying to get people to see. And they can flow into one another, but when you move and flow into and move them into one another, you create what's called a void. This is where death comes in at. This is why we have to die and stuff like that, because this negative arithmetic that's demonstrated, and eventually it begins to interface with group consciousness, and it can take us out of here. This is what death is. See, it's locked into the misunderstanding of seconds, minutes, and even going into hours, which is going into the prince. See, hours is ruled by, and I'm going to talk about Horus, but I can't do it yet until I get to the number 18. Fully do it the way I want to do it. So I get to somewhere around the number 18. I don't know where. But hours is ruled by Horus, or the prince. And the prince is a very important concept to understand when understanding time, and we'll talk about that in the future. But I just want to kind of let people know that seconds is like similar to credit. You know how credit, so you know what credit really is? It's like the medium or the difference between something that's in mint, a mint, or like what's in mint condition, that's kind of like almost like a commodity in stone, and then you have like something that's fluctuating or volatile. And credit is like, and volatile is something that's changing, or something that's like, you have a commodity or whatever, but then you have, like, for instance, you have a piece of food or a drug or something like that. That price may change more on a daily basis versus gold or something like that, because it's more volatile. It's something that's traded faster, it's maybe cheaper and more affordable to buy, so it's on the other side. And credit is what's the basis of that, and that's what seconds is control, is a form of credit, believe it or not. And if you master credit, this is how you learn how to live in the future, and you can begin to time travel, believe it or not, if you understand credit. See, banking, they talk about these Rockefellers and stuff, they were occultists, first and foremost. The only thing they did was water down a lot of the stuff about the occult and turned it into what you know as economics, which really was a form of magic and mysticism. So I'll go into more in the future. This was actually requested and inspired by myself and some people that, you know, are connected with the Matrix information. We got back in contact, and it's also inspired by some entertainment news and information that I read, and was kind of asked through the dark feeds to, I guess, kind of shift some of this information a little bit. So that's why I'm putting this out. So everything that I do has a reason for it. We always need some form of an eye or something, form of a channel or a way to steer popular culture and collective consciousness is what it really is. So I'm going to come back up with more. We still talking about money and the number 13, and haven't got off track. Just wanted to take a little intermission, excuse me. Actually, it's kind of like an intermission, and we still kind of was dealing with money in this particular episode, but we speaking on it from an aspect of credit. I'm gonna go back into seconds when I go into the number 19 again. But I just wanted to kind of point that out to let you know that how risky it is when you deal with time, and when you deal with credit, and when you deal with seconds, and when you get caught up in a concept that's based on really six, which is sex. Very risky, versus a reality based on spirals is what I'm trying to get people to see, which is a reality based upon the number 9. A lot of our Melchizedeks out there, you guys know what I'm talking about. Most people that watch my videos probably know what I'm talking about. But moving you out of that kind of information and going into more of an information that's dealing from the tree of life and the Merkaba and the spirals, which is going into the number 9, which is going into infinite. But then in infinite, there's a lot of physical labor that you have to do, believe it or not. See, this is why we're supposed to live to be a certain age. Because it takes time to master this life. Never take that for granted. It takes, according to the Bible, up to 70 years for a man or woman to master this life. Actually, for a woman, 70 years, and for a man, it could take up to 100. Something to think about. So stay vigilant, as always. Namaste.